Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're a developer, a QA engineer, or really anyone who has to pull specific identity data, you know just how tricky it can get. Well, today we're doing a hands-on masterclass on how to really get the hang of querying with Radiant Logic. So let's just dive right in. First, let's just take a moment to remember the pain, right? Before a system like this, you had to query Active Directory. Okay, done. Then you had to go query the HR database. Then maybe a totally separate portal database. And only then did the real fun begin, trying to stitch all that data together by hand. It was just slow, it was full of errors, and honestly, a massive headache. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with why having one source of truth is such a game changer. Then we'll get into the tools you'll be using. After that, we'll decode the language of the directory itself. From there, we'll master some absolutely essential queries. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at how to avoid the most common pitfalls that trip people up. Okay, let's kick things off with the big idea, the core concept. Section 1, one source of truth, and really digging into why this unified view changes pretty much everything. So what is Radiant Logic, really? The best way to think about it is like a universal translator for all your identity systems. It takes all those separate, messy sources we talked about and presents them to you as one single, clean, consistent directory. It's the engine that makes that unified view possible. And this is the whole point, right? The crucial takeaway is this. You are no longer hitting all these different systems. You query one place. That's it. This means the data you get back is consistent, validation becomes a breeze, and you don't have to waste time worrying about where each piece of data originally came from. All right, let's build on that. Moving on to Section 2, your essential toolkit. It's super important to understand the two main tools that you're going to be interacting with on a daily basis. And this lays it out perfectly. On one hand, you have Radiant Logic. That's the engine, the powerhouse under the hood doing all the heavy lifting and virtualization work. And on the other hand, you have Softera. That's your viewer. Think of it as the window you look through to see all the beautiful data that Radiant Logic has put together for you. It's the engine versus the viewer. Let's zero in on Softera for a second, because this is where you'll spend a lot of your time. Think of it as your read-only magnifying glass. You can search for data, filter your results, inspect every little attribute, and even export entries. But here's the most important part for us. No write operations. It is a completely safe sandbox for you to validate and query without any fear of breaking something. Okay, now, before we can write our first query, we've got to learn to speak the language, right? So Section 3 is all about decoding the directory. We're going to learn the basic language of LDAP. First step is the DN, which stands for Distinguished Name. Now, don't let the fancy name scare you. This is simply the full, unique address for any object in the entire directory. The absolute easiest way to think about it? It's just like a complete file path on your computer, from C drive all the way down to the specific file. Next, you've got the OU, or Organizational Unit. And if the DN is the full file path, well, the OU is just a folder in that path. Simple as that. It's a container that you use to group and organize things, kind of like putting all your user accounts into a users folder. And that brings us to the CN, or Common Name. This is the actual name of the object itself. So sticking with our little analogy, if the OU is the folder, the CN is the file name, like John Wick or admins. See? DN, OU, CN. It's just a path. It's also really important to get that there are two kinds of attributes. You've got your normal attributes, which is the stuff you usually look for, a username, an employee ID, things like that. But then you have operational attributes. This is system-generated data, like when was an account created or when was it last modified. And trust me, as we're about to see, these are absolute gold for troubleshooting. All right, theory time is over. We've got the concepts down. Let's get to the main event. Section 4, Mastering the Query. We're going to walk through some practical patterns that you will actually use, probably every single day. So let's start with a classic business request. Imagine your manager comes to you and asks, "Hey, can you get me a list of all the accounts that are going to expire in the next 30 days? How do you answer that question with a query? Well, here's your answer. The logic here is actually pretty simple, but it's so powerful. We're telling the system, hey, find me all the entries where the expiration date is after today's date and where the expiration date is before today's date plus 1 month. It creates this perfect little window to find exactly what you need, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, on to the next scenario. This one happens all the time. You don't have the full exact username. You just have a piece of it. Maybe you know it starts with test or that it has the word user somewhere in the middle. How do you find that person? The secret here is the wildcard, that little asterisk symbol. When you pair it with the like operator, where you put that asterisk tells the system exactly what to do. So test asterisk finds anything that starts with test. Asterisk test asterisk finds anything that contains the word test anywhere inside it. This is an absolutely essential tool for flexible searching. Now this one's a fantastic query for doing data integrity checks. How can you find all of the entries in the entire system that were created at some point but have never ever been changed since? This is such a clever little trick, and it uses those operational attributes we mentioned earlier. Think about it. If an entry has never been modified, its create timestamp is going to be exactly the same as its modify timestamp. So by just comparing those two fields, we can instantly pull out a list of every record that's never been touched. Okay, let's head into our final section, and this one is all about saving ourselves a ton of time and frustration. Section 5 is all about avoiding common pitfalls. These are the pro tips that are going to keep you out of trouble. So what are those simple, common mistakes that, let's be honest, even experienced people make when they're in a rush? You know, the ones that make you want to bang your head on the keyboard. Let's run through a quick checklist. Here's a rapid-fire list. First, you've got your basic location errors, like querying the completely wrong OU or forgetting to specify the object class. Then you have the performance killers, like running a massive select all with no filters. After that, simple syntax goofs, a typo in an attribute name, case sensitivity, a misplaced quote, and finally, a big one, impatience. You have to remember there's a sync process happening, so new data from a source system won't always show up instantly. So let's end on this note because it's so important. This whole thing isn't just about writing queries. It's about writing them efficiently and correctly the first time. Knowing these common pitfalls isn't just theory. It will literally save you hours of debugging down the line. And that, right there, is the whole point of working smarter, not harder.